What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome to our draft analysis for another season of Pokemon Draft League. I'm looking forward to this. We are a part of the Unpl Fall Brawl, and I am excited to talk about what I've picked and why. But before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. We are closing in on 5,000 subscribers, and I am hoping to get there by the end of the year. Make sure to help me out with that. So I thought I was going to be taking a much longer break from Draft League than I was, but when I found out that we were going to be doing Little Cup this time around, I couldn't run away, and so here we are. I'm excited to be doing this, and I got second pick in the draft, which is absolutely wild, so that just worked out even better. And so at second pick, I wanted a particular Mon that is considered to be pretty much the best Mon in Little Cup, and we actually got it. We got Mienfoo, or Mienfoo, whatever you want to say. This is pretty much the premier Mon in Little Cup, and it is absolutely fantastic. With Reckless, we hit super hard with high jump kicks. We also have access to Regenerator to get health back. We have Momentum, we have Knockoff, we have Fake Out. We have all kinds of amazing things that we need for this tier, and I couldn't be happier to have snagged this on the first round. Once it got back to me, I of course get two picks almost consecutively, and I wanted to pair this up with a equally powerful special attacker, and Hisuian Zoroark was right there. Now, I actually have not gotten a chance to use Hisuian Zoroark this generation, and so using the baby form seems like a lot of fun. While it does lose out on things like Hyper Voice, it still gets Tera Blast, it still gets Shadow Ball, still gets U-Turn, still gets a lot of things that are very crucial here, and honestly, it's plenty as far as I'm concerned. I think this is going to be another great glue pick in order to be able to move things around, and I like it a lot. Next up, I wanted a more utility-based Mon. I wanted some speed control. I think that that's going to be really important here, and Tinkatink was ready to go. This, of course, gives me both a Fairy and a Steel, which is incredibly cool for getting my cores down, and this thing gets your T-Waves, your Encores, your Rocks. It gets all kinds of stuff. It basically gets basically the entire moveset of Tinkaton except for Gigaton Hammer, which honestly is totally fine. I think that I'm okay with that trade-off given what this is. Next up, I wanted to go ahead and take my first Tera Captain. Now, this is a Mon that I will fully admit definitely should not have been a Tera Captain. It was one that got missed, and here it is, and I just didn't want to face it, so we took Cantonian Meowth. This thing is honestly way too strong to have been a Tera Captain. It should have been much higher. But here we are. Yeah, this is going to be one of my Tera Captains. Now, in this league, a couple of rules that I wanted to mention. Number one is that no more than 2 Pokemon on a team can have an Eviolite at a time. And our Tera Captains, you can have 2 of them, no higher than 4 points each. And it is Open Tera with Tera Preview. So Meowth is going to be Open Tera, which is kind of wild. This thing, of course, gets Technician, so even though it has a pretty low attack stat, it makes up for it by boosting the base total on all of its moves that are below 60 power. So Fake Out is boosted. Things like Fury Swipes are boosted. Things like Covet are boosted, so we can, of course, steal items and that kind of thing. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with this. It, of course, is another U-turner, which is really cool. There's just a lot going on here that I really like. Mainly, it's going to be just normal spam as long as my opponent doesn't have a bunch of Ghosts and Steals, which are a little bit less common in this. So I think that's really cool and should help me out a lot. But yeah, Meowth is really, really strong, and I think it's going to be a ton of fun. Next up, I wanted to start my Firewater Grass Core, and Squirtle was right there. This also gives me a Rapid Spinner, which is great, as well as Flip Turn, which is a nice slow momentum option. We get access to even more Fake Out should we need it, as well as things like Surf and Ice Beam, things that you're used to on Blastoise. Also, things like Shell Smash, that is also there, so we could run offensive if we wanted to, although I do foresee this being more of a bulky Mon most of the time rather than the offensive one, but we'll just have to see. We'll have to break that out at least once this season. Next up, I took my next Tera captain and I wanted to go ahead and grab my fire type, and Litten was sitting there. Now Litten, I think, is a little bit more deserving of the Tera captain mantra. It is a really cool mon. I think it's great. It still gets access to things like parting shot. It still gets all of your normal fire moves. It still gets access to a lot of the dark moves, despite it not being a dark type yet. So it's a really cool choice here. And with Tera, it helps one of its biggest issues, which is a lack of coverage. So of course, this normally would be completely walled by water types, so we can run like Tera Grass on this, which would be really cool in order to flip that matchup, and I think that's going to be really, really fun. Next up, I wanted a dragon, and I wanted Noibat, but that got taken. So here we are taking Dratini. Now, Dratini is still very, very good. It can be either physical or special. It gets incredible coverage on both sides. Of course, access to Draco Meteor, it gets access to Scale Shot, it gets access to your T-Bolt, your Flamethrower, your Ice Beam, all of that stuff that you want. It's all there, which is fantastic. It gets extreme speed, it gets Aqua Jet, it gets basically all the things that Dragonite gets, except for multi-scale. And honestly, given what this kind of a thing is, I honestly think that Shed Skin is going to come into play quite a bit, and I'm okay with it. So really, really cool. Next, I needed a ground type, and Sandile was going to be the obvious next pick. I almost went with something like Sandygast to be a little bit more bulky, but Sandile made a little bit more sense just to give me some more offensive pressure. This, of course, is another Intimidate mon along with Litten, but it also gives me access to Moxie, which is really, really cool. And of course, gets all of your normal ground, rock, dark stab. Really, really great option. I think that this is going to do a lot of work. Another great Scarfer, another great Banded option. There's just a lot to really, really like here. And if this thing gets going, it can be an absolute monster. And finally, our 9th pick. I didn't have a grass type yet, and I wanted some secondary removal, and Rowlet is here. I also think that my wife would have been very upset if I did not take Rowlet, and so Rowlet, of course, was the obvious spring. I think this is going to be a really nice secondary removal option. It also is not a bad offensive option either. Grass and flying is going to be really good. This also gets knockoff, it gets recovery, it gets a lot of really good things, and so I'm excited to try this thing out. Defensively, its typing is pretty bad, but offensively, I think we can make it work, and so I am really looking forward to seeing what we can do. So that is going to be your squad for the Appalachia Appletons for this season of UNPL Fall Brawl. Make sure to tune in next week, 1 week from today, to check out week 1 against Arc. This is going to be one of my toughest matches all season. I'm getting thrown to the lions immediately, so we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And again, make sure you subscribe, check out all of the other stuff on the channel, and we will see you next time. Stay safe out there, stay healthy, bye-bye.